Local programming on KRWG Public Media made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
This is KRWG Public Media, TV, radio, online. News that matters. Now, across the Mesilla Valley and the borderland, the stories that shape our community. From the KRWG Broadcast Center at New Mexico State University, this is Newsmakers.
Thanks for joining us on this special edition of Newsmakers. I'm Fred Martino. The pandemic temporarily ended naturalization ceremonies, but right before that happened, we were at the Las Cruces Convention Center for some of the final events, welcoming hundreds of new American citizens from across the globe, including 2 service members stationed at Holloman Air Force Base.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Yes, my name is Linda Goff, and I provide the national anthem and America the Beautiful. The very first one I did was in May of 2010. Well, I enjoyed the feeling that I got from it, and all of these people that have worked so hard to get to that point in their lives where they've taken all the tests, they've done all the studies, they've had all the help, and now they have received their oaths of citizenship.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am deeply honored to be standing in front of you today and to be the first person to address you as my fellow American citizens. Much like getting married or starting a family, today is one of the most important days of your lives. When you woke up this morning, you were Mexican or Guatemalan or Syrian or Indian or Chinese. But when you leave this room, you will do so as Americans. In preparing for the speech, I've been reflecting on my own personal journey towards becoming an American, what it means and what it takes. It certainly didn't happen overnight, the moment I took the oath, as you all did today.
Yes, my first name is Gabe, last name Guidi. I'm from Brazil, and so I immigrated here in 2014 from Brazil, ended up in New Hampshire. I was there for 4 years, and then I joined the Air Force, and that's how I ended up in Holloman Air Force Base, New Mexico.
How long did it take for you to become a citizen, and what was the process like for you?
Well, to become a citizen, it was a little bit weird because when I got here, I was just 16 at the time. So throughout my junior and senior of high school, I wasn't really aware of how the process worked. It was just my parents doing the work. And then once I joined college, it was more straightforward. I received my green card once I graduated high school. And then from there, it was just a 5-year period to get a citizenship. But by joining the military and making a commitment to this country, I had the possibility to get my citizenship a little bit sooner. Okay, so I joined the military in March of 2019. I graduated from basic training in May. I completed my tech training in August. So it's been almost a year now. March is gonna be my anniversary. And I'm a 6F, I work financial operations for the Air Force. So I think that's a really good gig. It gives me time to educate myself, go to college, take classes, and also to provide the Air Force with the service they required.
I left my home country, Mexico, in 2000. That was the year that the PRI's political party 70-year unbroken reign finally ended with the election of Vicente Fox of the National Action Party. With new politicians in power, the drug cartels ramped up the violence against the government in an effort to reestablish their hold on the country. Crime, kidnappings, and murders were rampant. Fearing for my family's safety, I moved to the United States with my 3 young children, and we obtained our American citizenship shortly thereafter.
My name is David Young Jr. I'm immigrating from Liberia. It's a little country in West Africa, where I came to the U.S. originally for education my dad had sent for me. He wanted me to go to school, but things went sideways because I didn't have proper immigration status, but I later on got it. And then the reason why I'm here is because I joined the military. I had joined the Air Force, and I'm stationed here. That's why I'm here. Well, it's been going on pretty well 6 years back and forth, but the process is hectic. It's a lot of side movement. You can do a lot of stuff. There was time in between where you don't have status, you can't drive, you can't do this, you can't do that. And then after all those years, finally got the residency. And then once I got that, I decided to join the military to serve. And that's why I served. But the process took forever. It was very hectic.
But then, just a few months after we moved here, the terrorist attacks of September 11 took place. Like everyone else in the country and the world, I was shaken to the core. The overwhelming feeling of powerlessness and despair I felt for my new country as I watched in horror those planes hitting the towers made me realize that in just a few months, I had become an American, and that there was nothing I wouldn't do for this country that had already given me so much.
I'm Mario Salgado. I'm from Mexico. I've been here for 26 years in America. I'm trying to follow the laws and be a good citizen, but this is the good time to be a legal citizenship. That's why I'm here, and being in Las Cruces for over 2 years now, almost 3 years.
What do you do currently?
I'm working on oil fields. I used to work for over 25 years now, and I'm still there.
When did it start? When did the process start?
We started the process in August, and it takes me like 3 months. Test was really easy. I mean, it takes me like 13 minutes on the office with the officer, and then it was easy.
Back in Mexico, I had been a lawyer. However, I couldn't practice law in the United States. I began to volunteer for a nonprofit organization called CASA, Court-Appointed Special Advocates for Children. Most of the children that I was a guardian ad litem for spoke little or no English at all. When I accompanied them to court proceedings, I would notice somebody sitting next to them interpreting what was being said from English into Spanish and vice versa. So I inquired about it, and I found out with great delight that court interpreting is a career in this country. I passed the state exam first and the federal exam later, and here I am, 20 years later, working as an official staff interpreter for the U.S. District Courts in the District of New Mexico.
Yeah, my name is Ashish Modi. I'm from India. Family, my uncle came like in 1995, and he told me about like USA, how this country like there's lots of opportunity here. So, yep, that's bring me here. I have a hotel business, so I own a hotel in Rio Doso, New Mexico.
What's the name of the hotel?
Rio Doso Mountain Inn. As I told you, my uncle was here in 95, so he started working in hotel, then he bought his own place, like his own hotel, and we came here, so he gave us a guidance how to work in hotel business. I worked with him like for a few years, couple of years, so I gained the experience with him. Then I managed a couple of hotels, and then I thought, let me invest in a hotel business, and so I started my thing.
I feel blessed that I have a job that I love, working for judges who diligently and impartially uphold the laws of this country, and making sure that there's fair language access in the courts for many people who perhaps will never be as fortunate as we are to become American citizens.
Your Honor, today we have 149 applicants for naturalization representing 21 countries. With your permission, I will introduce the applicants by country.
Please do.
For purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. Well, for me, it's very moving to see all of these people out there wanting to become American citizens, and it's an honor for me to participate in their special day. I think the mixture of the cultures is good for natural American citizens, so we can see how other people live and their customs, and they are adapting to our customs once they get here.
During the first few years after moving here, I discovered a wonderful and supporting running group that became my second family. In longing to represent my new country at the international level, I trained hard and competed more often. In 2011, I had the great honor to represent the United States at the International Triathlon Union World Championship. I have never felt such a sense of accomplishment as when I crossed that finish line wearing my red, white, and blue uniform.
Really, this country treats me like a citizen forever. So it's not gonna be any big change. I'm just got more abilities to vote and things like that. Now everybody on Washington's gonna hear me.
It's feeling so proud, like, now, like it's now our country, like it's our own country now, like it's feeling proud moment for me and my family, It's like, now we can say, it's my country now, so, yeah.
Nothing makes me feel more American than exercising my right to vote. That little sticker that says I voted means so much to me. Making my voice heard gives me the power to determine the future of this country and what its priorities should be. We the people. We are the government of this country. So I urge you to vote. It is a privilege, but it is also now your civic duty. When you vote, you become an American too.
Even if you're a green card holder and you're here legally, it's not the same as being a citizen. I think when you become a citizen, you're just like a sense of, you're just like proud, really. You just feel like you're part of it, that you can make changes, you can vote, you can really be what shapes this country and be part of the democracy and the freedom that it offers us. Well, I plan on staying in the military because of the benefits. I'm already planning on starting classes. I went to college for a bit before I joined, so pursuing my associates for the Air Force as my first plan, and hopefully a bachelor's someday. But yeah, I'm really proud of being here.
Well, it means a lot to me. It makes me happy. I feel like now I'm a part of this great nation, and I'm already doing my part, serving the military, and this one it ups from there, assimilating. I'm excited. For right now, it's just me going to work, and right now I'm going to school, pursuing my education and pursuing my career and doing the best and assimilating the military, getting those ranks up and stuff like that, and just doing what I do best, doing the best I can.
Our country is made of people like us who are of two places, who love two places. Find a balance between the culture you left behind and the American way of life. Preserving your traditions, your food, your music, and your language enriches the fabric of this melting pot that we call America. As my grandmother always used to tell me, remember who you are and never forget where you came from. For the last 20 years, becoming an American has been an incredible journey. I heartily congratulate each one of you for being and becoming Americans too. May God bless the USA.
Today we continue our conversation with Johana Bencomo. Last week we talked about her role as executive director of NM Cafe, the influential nonprofit based in Las Cruces that organized the petition drive for the city's minimum wage law. This week we focus on her work as Las Cruces City Councilor. Johana, thank you again for joining us on Newsmakers.
Of course, anytime, Fred.
It is great to have you here, and I want to start with a very general question, but I think you'll understand why. Tell me about your decision to run for office. Politics is so important, but it is a tough business.
Yeah, Fred, it absolutely is. I've loved politics my entire life. I have no idea why. I was a strange teenager indeed. I majored in government, even though my time at NMSU under Dr. Neil Harvey, I studied all the reasons how government is oppressive often and not great. And so I never imagined, honestly, that I would be running for office. And my work as a community organizer has really led me to understand often how policies that will impact historically marginalized communities never consult those communities. And through my work at New Mexico Cafe, I really was, my view of politics was really transformed. And then in 2018, I I was invited to participate in Emerge New Mexico. It is an organization that trains women on how to run for office, and it really left me with this whole new perspective on how I could help my community and advocate for my community. And in 2019, when Councilor Jack Aikman decided not to seek re-election, it really felt like quite the sign for me, and I decided to throw my name in, and I'm really glad I did.
You know, one of the things that I bet a lot of people find refreshing about you in your role as city councilor is you often say things that the average person might be thinking, but we don't often hear from politicians. I mean, we cover the city council meetings, and I remember a recent one where it was the business as usual, where folks were talking about city policy on an issue, and they were touting all of the wonderful work that's been done, et cetera, et cetera. And you said, hey, from what I'm hearing in the community, this is the minimum. This is the absolute minimum that must be done.
You know, I'm very proud of my background. I have a background in social work and a background in community organizing, and I don't leave that at the door when I enter my city council space and realm. And I really want to make sure that my decision making is informed by people in our community, by people directly impacted by any specific issue that we might be addressing or talking about. And honestly, Fred, I'm very opinionated. I often speak what is on my heart and on my mind, and it gets me in trouble sometimes. But honestly, I feel like politics need to be that way. It's the reason so many people shy away from it, right? Because they feel a sense of disingenuousness from the whole thing. And I'm really trying to bring my whole self to that. I think if it makes some folks uncomfortable, at the end of the day, I think I'm okay with that. I think we need to be uncomfortable when we're trying to make big change. And I love Las Cruces, and I want to do the most I can for our community. So I'm trying to be as genuine and honest as possible.
Well, and you know, I imagine some people may have told you this before. There are some who would argue that this is needed now more than ever. We recently had a city audit reveal allegations that are so common in New Mexico: friends helping friends and conflicts of interest, taxpayer money being used in questionable ways. We've seen this at the spaceport and other institutions, not just the city. How do you change this in our political systems at every level in the state?
That's such an important question right now. And I've been thinking so much about this since that audit came out. You're the first person to ask me about it, Fred. And so, and probably because I'm a new councilor, right? Councilor Beta-Stuvie and I we just came in 2020 and weren't around when most of this was happening in the city. But I've been reflecting a lot on what I've learned in the last year. And it's disheartening when you come into this work as a public servant in good faith because you want to see good transformative change. And I'm meeting people that work at City Hall who have given their lives, their entire careers have been public service. And I see that they come to this work in good faith. So when you have bad actors coming in and doing some of the things that you described and what we saw in that audit, it's frustrating, frankly, infuriating at times. And it's really, I think for us, what we have to do to move forward is set up strong accountability procedures, strong internal processes. And honestly, Fred, I think at the end of the day, it also matters about who's elected and who we are electing. Do we continue electing wealthy retirees, or do we continue electing working people who understand what it's like to have a tight budget? And I think at the state level, that's something that's really necessary. I think our state legislature is outdated, and people don't like talking about paying legislators because of things like this, right? But I also think it's somewhat of a toxic cycle that we have people who, running for office who often are their interest is perhaps their own pockets and not the best interest of the city. And I'm very happy though to be in currently this council. I feel like is very committed to ensuring there's transparency and accountability. And I'm very proud of my colleagues and I think the work that we'll be doing moving forward.
Well, in addition to those accountability issues, tell me about some of your other short-term priorities as a city councilor. We'll get to long-term ones, but I want to start with the short-term.
Great. Yes, absolutely. I mean, COVID relief is still at the top of my priority list. I will continue to ensure that while the federal government is not doing what they need to do to help workers, to help people out of work in this moment, ensuring that the city, we're in a healthy place. And so we should be able to help as many residents as possible during this pandemic and in that recovery effort. Definitely with the COVID vaccine, ensuring that we get up to that 70% or more. So those efforts to me are critically important. The other thing I'm really excited about is this revitalization project with El Paseo and Solano. Councilor Vasquez is the chair of this ad hoc committee. Councilor Beta-Stuvey and myself are on this committee. I'm excited. We're the youngest members of the council. This area really encompasses all of our districts. And I don't know if you've driven down El Paseo recently, Fred, but there are just boarded up businesses everywhere. And so we're trying to find strategies in the next 6 months that will help revitalize this community in this area that has a lot of low-income families, a lot of young families. And this part of our community deserves that kind of attention. And so that's one of the projects that I'm very excited about.
I drive on El Paseo, I shop on El Paseo, and that's important work. I'm glad to hear it. Tell me about some of your long-term goals. I mean, that in and of itself is not going to be really short-term. It's going to take a while. But other long-term goals that you may have for your work in City Council.
Absolutely. Two really large things. I really want to ensure that the city is thinking about anything we do, particularly budgeting, that we have a strong anti-poverty lens. We have such a high rate of poverty in Las Cruces, and when you dig down on some of the zip codes, 88001, 88005, that poverty rate can get up to 36%, Fred, and that is about children and families living in poverty. And the long-term effects of poverty are tremendous, and I really believe the city needs to step up its game on anti-poverty programs. And working on something I can't quite say yet, and I'm very excited though, because you'll be seeing a lot of these kinds of demonstration projects across the country, and I'm excited to bring it to Las Cruces. You'll be one of the first people I come tell, but I'll say that it's very much about anti-poverty and really thinking about poverty policy very differently. The other issue that I think is long-term but very important, and it's the thing I get the most calls and emails about. Councilor Bencomo, my road, when are you going to pave my road? When are you going to maintain my road? And right now, it's my understanding that there are 81 miles of road across Las Cruces that need total repair, complete do-over, and that's a very expensive project. But I really believe that when you look at where these roads are, it's an equity issue. You'll notice that it's working neighborhoods, it's low-income neighborhoods, and I really want to make sure that my work with Café, I've done a lot of things on roads in the colonias, and so this to me feels huge and important, and it matters to people's quality of life. It's the first thing you see when you walk out of your house, and so ensuring that the city is investing in bettering our infrastructure, to me, is one of my biggest priorities.
Lots of important work ahead. In our final minutes here, I was curious to ask you, after the hard campaign and winning overwhelmingly to be a city councilor, now that you've been doing the job for a while, what reflections you have? What surprises came for you? What delights? What disappointments? What are the big things that you think about when people ask you, what is it like to be a city councilor?
I'll start with the bad and end with the good.
Okay.
Mostly good. I think as a young progressive, as a community organizer, I think I'm I'm used to things moving a little bit faster, and municipal government often moves at a glacial pace. So it's me trying to push that along and trying to understand why that is. That's definitely been the hardest part for me. The best part for me has definitely just been able to connect with my neighbors and the people around me, and hearing stories and people calling me because they agree or disagree, but being able to talk to people to me has been honestly the greatest honor. And one of the other things that's been really incredible is the amount of support that my fellow colleagues on the council have given us. I've learned so much from Councilor Vasquez and Mayor Pro Tem Gandara and our mayor, and it's really incredible to have experienced people be able to share that with me, and then having someone like Councilor Abeyta by my side has been quite the pleasure as well.
All right. Well, best of luck to you, and keep sharing those stories. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you so much, Fred.
That's our time for now. Join us this week on KRWG Radio every weekday. It's Morning Edition 5 to 9, Fresh Air at 11, followed by Here and Now, noon to 2, and All Things Considered, 4 to 7. KRWG News is always online at krwg.org, and we'd love to hear from you. Email us with your story ideas and video submissions. The address is feedback@nmsu.edu. For all of us at KRWG News, I'm Fred Martino. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on Newsmakers.